Recognize that your mental health is so important. If you don't, then I promise you'll be so distorted. Stiffened by your thoughts, that's a mental rigor mortis. I'm on a hard mission and it won't be aborted. Assorted memories will seem to be your remedy, but in your darkest hour, form into your enemies. Trust your gut, judge people off their energy. Cut them off quick and fast, they are limiting.
You're listening to the Expect Effect podcast, where the concept of self-care is our primary focus. Consider this an acknowledgement of feeling, a completely judgment-free zone, an opportunity to birth every great idea within you. This is your weekly dose of me time, and I'm your host. It's just Nakia. I cannot thank you enough for putting continued focus on self and tuning in here with me for yet another week, another round of focus on you, real conversations, honest stories, and real engagement. This has been an amazing ride for this first season, and we are now down to the last 3 episodes before we take a little break before coming back for season 2. And I am thrilled. I have so many ideas in the works. You guys don't even understand. There are so many ways this show has the potential to be greater than what it is right now, and I want to bring that to light. I want to thank you so much for everything that you've done. We got a Voyage Dallas interview. We've got almost 140 consistent Instagram followers and people who engage in our platforms. Look at the guest list. It's been insane, and it's going to get even crazier. It's going to get even better as you continue to work and align your expectations with your beliefs. And don't think for a second that just because I'm not coming here every single week, you're not still going to be getting new content from the Expect Effect. We're going to be putting out a lot of different things, even if I'm not here preaching about self-care Sundays for just a little bit. You're still going to hear something from us all the while, all leading up to season 2, whenever that will come to light. So thank you so much. You can follow me at It's Just Nakia on Instagram and Facebook. We also have personal pages dedicated to the show at the Expect Effect podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Listen, we know that life is hard, but we believe that self-care doesn't have to be. So sit back, relax, and unwind as we together uncover ways to truly expect better, do better, and believe better. Man, if no one else is asked, I'm asking. How are you? How are things? What's going on? How can it get better? How can it get worse? Where do you need help? Do you have any questions? Are you confused about different aspects of life? Are you scared, nervous, hopeful? Are you being the strong friend right now? Do you need a strong friend right now? DM us at the Expect Effect podcast on Instagram or Facebook. You can shoot us an email. That's theexpecteffect@gmail.com. And at the Expect Effect podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Shoot us a DM. Tell us what's good. Man, I don't want to waste any time. And here recently, I have not been into wasting time. I guess you could say, I'm a little restless, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think life has a way of transitioning us and taking us on rides and journeys and different experiences. I think we encounter new things. I think that we have to learn different ways of coping, of moving forward and progressing, and we recognize when there is a need for change and shift. And this is a season of my life in which it's simply time for me to explore some old crafts, some new crafts, further expand the brand that is the Expect Effect podcast, but also further expand the brand that is It's Just Nakia. There's so many things that I want to bring to you guys. So really, really stay tuned. Get plugged in with us. Stay tuned with me. Keep up with me at It's Just Nakia on Instagram and Facebook. Note the changes that are coming to this platform, and I promise you it is all for the better. I do want you to tune in next Saturday, May 23rd, myself and Rita. And if you've listened to our stimulus check episode where we discussed overcoming FOMO, know. Our guest there, Rita, will be sitting down with me on Instagram and Facebook Live Saturday, May 23rd. Head over to our Instagram pages to learn more about that. That's at the Expect Effect Podcast and at It's Just Nakia. We're going to be giving updates. I'm thinking about doing a giveaway. I'm not really finalized on that, but I am feeling like in my heart of hearts of giving something out, especially in a time like this. So we're going to see what we can do. We've got a lot of fun things coming up on that live. It's going to be an honest conversation about music, mental wellness, mental health, mental well-being, tackling and navigating the different situations and circumstances that I think all of us are experiencing in some way during this time. They're going to be shared truths, a little bit of Black girl magic for you, just a lot of love shared, a lot of knowledge shared, and in one engagement I think you don't want to miss. So that's going to be Saturday, May 23rd. Be sure you're tuning in. This week's topic, Ballad of the Bass, featuring Ezra Millz. If you don't know who Ezra is, I just want to go ahead and preface right now. I usually don't do this, but I want to go ahead and run into it. Ezra is a phenomenal father, a businessman, and an artist. He's a rapper. He is extremely smart, exceptionally talented, and when I think Ballad of the Bass, Big Crit is one of my favorite rappers, single-handedly in my top 10. I tell everyone that. Like, Big Crit is truly just one of my favorite people, and one of his songs is called Ballad of the Bass. But when I hear it, I think about the journey and the progression, identifying what makes you you. Why are we here? Why do we work to do what we do, and what drives us? And Ezra actually hosts a show, the Super 806 podcast. He has merch for that show. He has his own digital media and creation company to come in and get you set up with the perfect digital solution. He's an artist, and as I mentioned, he's a father. So when we talk about identifying what makes us who we are, why we do the things we do, and what drives us, I felt like he would be the perfect candidate. If you've ever said to yourself, if I could just figure out what I'm really passionate about, then everything is going to fall into place. And if so, like, I would say you're not alone. And I would also say, if not, tell me the secret, because one of the most common stumbling blocks is launching a life that's not only fulfilling, but passion-based, right? It stems in figuring out what you're passionate about in the first place. How do we figure that out? I can't say for sure how you're going to figure out your passion or what that's going to look like for you. But one thing I can tell you is one way you might kill it is by overthinking it. Right? So one thing you may not realize in the pursuit of your passions is by overthinking it, not just allowing the natural progression of things to occur. There's something really beautiful about letting things occur naturally. What are you naturally good at? What are some things you can maybe tweak or work on, but not necessarily force? I think sometimes we're trying so hard to get on and be the next thing, be what's seen, be what's hot. You want to be in competition. You don't want to believe that what you've pursued could possibly not be for you. It's about coming back to the drawing board and recognizing that a passion-filled life can only be accessed through properly identifying your passion. You're always going to feel like there's a hole when you're trying to force or manipulate a situation instead of fully embracing it for what it is, who you are in this moment, and what you're actually capable of. It's a matter of less talk and more action. As frequently as possible, allow your works to speak for yourself. Stop saying what you hope can happen and start to map out the real and practical things that can occur. Recognize what you're good at, what you're not, what can be improved, what can't. This isn't me killing your dreams, but just encouraging you to remain practical. Not everything is for you, and that is okay. Learn how to navigate the expansion of your career once you've identified the right thing, and figure out how to maneuver the changes that come along the way. When you are doing those things, there is absolutely no room for talk, only room for action. When you identify what's required to access your goals, you're then able to learn how to navigate the expansion of your chosen career path or passion, and then you also know how to maneuver the changes along along the way. You're encompassing self-care with creative expression in the pursuit of your desires. And you may be saying, like, how am I encompassing self-care and creative expression in the pursuit of my desires? Creative expression to me, in any sense, is doing something that makes you happy. If that's writing a poem for your significant other, if that's reading a book, if you pen short stanzas, if you make YouTube videos, if you like photo collages, if you like to sew, self-care to me is creative expression. So when you encompass those things in the pursuit of your desires, I think it's impossible to not essentially be creatively expressive in those moments. So you're giving to yourself, you're feeding into those things, and you're creating and molding your life. Self-care is encompassed with creative expression in the sense of I am shaping the life that I desire. In the pursuit of my passions, I am truly creating, shifting, changing, and building something. And I'm also creating ways to keep myself sane. I'm creating ways to work on boundaries. I'm creating ways to overcome anxiety. I'm creating ways to better my brand. I'm a marketing strategist. I'm a doctor. I'm a parent. I am a creative in all of these instances. Life is constantly calling for us to create, to build, to mold, and shape. And so in all of these instances, you're able to pursue your passions. And when I hear Ballad of the Bass, that journey, that recognizing what is my passion, what is even for me, am I wasting my time? The recognition of self-care, creative expression, and learning, identifying less talk, more action. The journey of a creative is never, the journey of any person is never stop, start. This is exactly how I'm going to do this thing, and B says it's going to work out fine. Usually you need a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E, and F for all of the things that are bound to go wrong in the progression of you attempting to get where you're trying to go. So in all of these things, I think it's just really, really important to step back, focus, identify your passion, identify what's required to assess your goals. That's the Ballad of the Bass. When you learn then how to navigate the expansion of your career and you've identified your niche, you'll realize you're doing so by encompassing self-care with creative expression in the pursuit of your desires. And that's what the ballad is. It's just the progression of life. It's just how we're doing things. What does that look like? Have I identified what I love? Do I know the common things? What am I constantly gravitating towards? Do I have a passion for teaching, speaking, artistry, or ministry? Am I supposed to be a life coach? Am I supposed to be a podcast host? Am I supposed to be a rapper? Less talk, more action. As frequently as possible, I'm going to allow my work to speak for myself, because I know the only ways to live the life I desire is by identifying my passion. And then I'm going to know in that what's required to access my goals. I'm going to be open to learning. I'm going to be open to receiving information from the world around me. I'm going to be open to feedback. I'm going to be open to progression. I'm going to be open to books. I'm going to be open to answers. And I'm going to know that in this, I'm learning all the while how to navigate the expansion of my career. I've identified my passion. I'm learning how to maneuver through changes by being open to change and encompassing self-care, knowing that equivalent, that essentially goes hand in hand with creative expression, right? They're not too far off. When I come on these episodes and I talk to creatives and I talk to business owners and I talk to all of these people, self-care is setting the tone for your life and doing it passionately, doing it boldly, doing it freely, and doing so in a way that says, this thing I've built, this is for me. I've created this thing. I've molded this thing. I've shaped this thing. This is what my ballad sounds like, and it's beautiful. This week, we're stepping into full effect with Ezra Millz. I think you're going to love this conversation. I'm so sorry if that was a little jumbled for you guys. That was a tough point I was trying to relay there for me. I hope all of you got it and stayed on track. Really, I just want you to be open to the journey. Be open to what comes with that. Identify and recognize what's truly for you, and I mean absolutely for you, and know and realize that the natural outcome is always the best outcome. Never force it. Never force it. I think when you hear the word ballad, you think of beautiful, soothing, soft, nothing forced, and the ballad of the bass. Like when you think about bass, it is aggressive and it is heavy, and that's life, right? Life is aggressive, but it can be beautiful, it can be soothing, it can be all that we desire, but that's rooted in being able to properly identify your passion, put that to good use, identify, know what's required to get there, right? And then learn how to keep up with that thing and keep up with yourself along the way. So stay tuned. You're going to listen to a few advertisements, and we're going to be right back here stepping into full effect with none other than Ezra Millz. This is a conversation you don't want to miss. I would have kept him here 30 minutes longer, but I think you're going to be happy with what you got. We'll be right back right after this.
Ezra Millz here from Lubbock, Texas. Appreciate you having me.
Man, thank you for coming on. I want to first acknowledge Kiana. Thank you so much for making this connection. Yes. To those of you who don't know, I actually have a tattoo on my right hand. We're gonna do a quick story time.
Let's do that.
Okay,
yeah.
So picture it, Sicily. Okay, I'm playing.
No.
If anybody watches the Golden Girls. No, man. Okay, so this is like 2018. It's one of my last nights in Amarillo, so it's like September, because I left in October, I want to say, so it's like late September. It's kind of cold outside. The plan that night is drunk. Okay, that's all I knew. That's all we knew from start to finish was drunk. And let me tell y'all, there's a reason I believe in a higher power, and it rests so much in part of the story, because that night I spent all of my trip money that I was using to get home, partying and getting tattoos with Kiana. We went and we got some house tattoos. I got super drunk. We partied so hard that night. We ended up, I think we were going to go to an after hours club. There were burritos that night. There are so many videos from that evening. And we ended up getting matching tattoos, and we were like, oh my gosh, you're leaving. And I was like, I know I'm leaving, and it's so sad. We should just do something to remember and commemorate this moment. And so I took and wrote an N on her hand, and she wrote a K on my hand, and the tattoo artist just over here gassing us. He's like, yeah, do that. I'm getting paid. So we get the tattoos, and it was a wild night. But she is one of my dearest friends, one of the kindest people I know. She really held me up. I was actually having a terrible time at that time, but a lot of people would think it was a good time and a party. And my life was a mess. Do you hear me? And she was like just a phenomenal soul. So I was really honored when she asked if we could do this, and I was like, oh, you want to do something with what? Like, I was like, oh my god, yes. So also just knowing you though, and your work and your music, I was like, this man is an 8, like you are a legend in the 806, if I do say that. Like there's not a person I know who's like Super 806. Yeah, I know what that is. Like, you got the shirts, the merchandise. Like, you are a mogul in the making, a true talent, nonetheless.
I appreciate that.
No, man, thank you for being here. So, guys, all of that aside, we're gonna get into it. But tell me a little bit about for all of those things and that people may not know about you. First, kind of give people an insight into who you are and some different things that you do.
Okay, so Ezra Millz. That's obviously that's that's my like alias. That's who. It means something, you know what I'm saying? It means something that I call myself Ezra Millz. It has a story behind it. Ezra, and there's a book in the Bible that's it's called Ezra. Ezra was a scribe and a priest. And a scribe, what that means is that they wrote, and they didn't just write, but they like took like history. They basically wrote history. Whatever was going around is what they were writing, and they were the ones entrusted to do that. So, I feel like that's kind of what my calling is. My purpose is to write what's going on for the purpose to teach, the future. And it's weird because to me, I don't feel like I'm worthy of that. Like when I think of someone like Aristotle or even, the writers of the Bible, they were entrusted to write, things that really shape the future of humanity, because people like really shape their business structures around that and their livelihoods around those ideas and stuff. So, I feel like that's what my purpose is to be something similar to that now. To what degree, I'm not 100% sure. I'm just rolling with it as it comes and as it goes. But outside of that, I've been rapping for a long time since I was young. I started writing and freestyling at 12, recording at 15. I think I did like my first EP in studio EP at 15. It wasn't really great because in West Texas there was no rap scene.
That's
So it was,
fair. Yeah.
so I was like being recorded by a guy who owned a bluegrass studio. So you can only imagine like the contrast, the conflict there. I mean, it just wasn't. There was no vibe there. You know what I'm saying? So
What leads you though to this? What leads you to this at 12? Like what leads you to say, and how do you have that open avenue? I know there are some
yeah,
people like who at 12 and 15 couldn't be as creative as they may have wanted to be. So how did you land there?
man, I think well. I always loved music for whatever reason. I honestly don't know because like my parents don't play instruments. They were never like people to sing or anything like that. And I think as far as music went with them was just what was on the radio. You know what I'm saying? So for whatever reason, I guess I can only assume being the youngest, I was just in the back. And matter of fact, now we're having this conversation, something's coming to my mind. Like our youngest
Mm-hmm.
daughter, Zanea, just today driving home from the studio to the house, all the kids are talking and she's just quiet in the back seat. She's just listening, peeping game. So I can imagine I was probably the youngest just in the back seat being talked over, being rolled over. So I'm just quiet with my head right next to the speaker. You know what I'm saying? I'm just literally painting this picture as I'm speaking with you. So, I imagine something like that probably would really spark that. So at the age of 12, I remember meeting a friend. We were walking home from school and he was showing me this rap that he had supposedly wrote. Well, come to find out later, it was just a song off the radio, but it's still nonetheless something that I saw on paper, like words rhyming and like and written to say like to create a picture. I was like, wow, that's intriguing. You know what I'm saying? So I started doing the same thing, writing songs from the songs on the radio.
What's the first song you remember spitting?
Like
First,
from the
yeah,
radio
yeah,
type thing. It's
yeah, first thing, first one.
the first. I know what it is. It's like okay, so the first one that I intentionally wrote and spit like that in the form of me like kind of mimicking it and to do it. It was a Project Chick by the Hot Boys by
Oh
Lil
my
Wayne and Drew.
goodness!
Give me a
Oh wow!
Project Chick, and I'm 12 years old. You know what
I'm
I'm saying?
dead.
So you can imagine. Like,
I am dead. I think we were all there singing songs we had no
mm,
business singing. But honestly, I blame my parents. All those VHS
hey,
tapes, old 90s movies I got to watch. Time y'all left me alone. Y'all remember
yeah,
BET After
yeah,
Hours.
yeah, hell yeah. That's
Oh
y'all spot.
man, but man, oh my goodness. But the visual you painted about your head being next to the speaker, like I caught chills because I think
They,
it's the first moment you connect with music. Like I
yeah,
think, or the first time it really takes over you, because I think there's a vibe and a connection everybody gets. You have a song that you're connected to, something you're drawn to. There's something that integrates it. If I can't have a beat playing behind my intro at the top of something or behind a poetry piece I do, it doesn't hit the same.
yeah, yeah,
So
for sure.
there's always something there. So I love how you really led into the creation of that for you and that you gave us that picture. When you talk
Right.
about the development of your sound and the creation of the molding and the shaping of your passion and how that ties in with who you've become, because you're the artist, but you're also the man. So how do
Yeah.
those two coincide and how have they changed over the years?
Like now I always describe myself as this like I'm a father, a rapper, and a businessman. Like, and those three things are probably the main titles of who I feel I have become, you know what I'm saying? And I put it in that order for a specific reason because fatherhood is like the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like it really probably saved my life, it changed my life, it opened my eyes, it did everything that positive for me. Um, but at the same time, like I said, that rap and that music has always been my passion. So that's number two, and then number three, business. That's just as well. I mean, that just as well will keep me up all night, just like anything else. You know what I'm saying? I'll be up all
You
night
are a
just coming up
high
with ideas.
Man, you are a high key business mogul. Like I look at you and go, like, what is he going to do next? And I see people like you, and it drives the hustle because there's a humility in your work
Hmm.
that I think just really inspires me. Especially even the way you talk about fatherhood. Like I'm gonna be honest, kids scare me. But I know, like for you, it's like it's an amazing avenue, and I can hear how much passion you have for your family. And one thing I
Yeah,
always say is that you have to take care of home first. If that structure is
exactly.
poor, right, everything else we do is poor. Um,
Hmm.
so the first question before we kind of dive off into the second tier of that, into the music, um, and the business, what are ways you stay grounded at home? I mean, because realistically it is demanding and kids are a lot, and you have younger children in your home, if I'm correct.
Yeah, yeah, young. You know, the oldest is 8, the youngest is 4,
Mm,
2. Sorry. Um, so you know, the ways that I stay grounded, and this is something that I talk, you know, with Kiana about, and this is something that we do all the time. Is like we have to focus on ourselves because just like you said, out of all those things that we had talked about, home has to be strong and sound. Well, to get like an even more microscopic level of that, like personal, I have to be grounded. You know what I'm saying? I have to be okay with me. My spirit has to be good. My heart has to be good. My mind has to be good. So the ways I do that, you know, is I take time. I try to work out, you know, even if it's just outside doing, you know, lunges throughout the yard with the dog, and I got some tires back there that I'll lift. Just things like that, just so I feel, because we got to do for ourselves. So when you do for yourself, you feel good. When you feel good, you work
right,
good. When you work good, you get paid good. When you get paid good, I mean, you feel good. You know what I'm saying? It's a
right, all the way
domino
around.
effect. So you know that's one thing. You know, me and Kiana have, we've definitely committed to doing things like waking up and having coffee with each other, like feeding into our relationship, reading books. You
That's
know, that's
important.
definitely right. Yeah, reading books is probably the biggest thing. Like I can read books or listen to audiobooks like all day. It's something I'll do. Just if I'm just going to drive to the store to get something and come back, I'm gonna put that book on just so I get through a few pages. You know what I'm saying? While I'm doing nothing,
What are you
type of thing.
listening to or reading to right now? What's on your list?
So right now I'm actually listening to 2 books. I'm listening to one that's called the Prince, and the author of that is Nicola. I can't remember his name. I'm about to look it up right now on my phone. And then the second one is the 50 Laws of Power by 50 Cent. So I just started that
50
one.
Laws of Power. That
So
is
I think
actually not a
that's
bad read, y'all. I know
and
there's
I
a lot of things we can say about 50 Cent, but that is not a
exactly
bad read.
right. And I've heard it before, and this was my second time going through it. Just because for whatever reason, like maybe a week ago, I was like, man, I'm feeling like kind of stagnant in my, like, maybe just sometimes when I feel motivated is when I get these like gems out of these books, and they'll put me on like on a path, and when I get to the end of that path, I'm like, okay, well I did that. Either I failed it or I accomplished it. Do I want to find something else to go after? You know what I'm saying? So I open a book to find that. But yeah, the 50th Laws of Power, and then The Prince by Nicola Machiavelli, which is a really good book.
Man. So recommended reads, we're definitely going to throw those out there. Thank you for the mentions.
Right,
Um,
right.
Going into the music, talk to me about the evolution of your sound a little bit. So father first, home is
Right.
first, and tying into relationships is huge. I really cannot stress that enough. Anything you do, if that's a relationship from parent to child, from in a romantic way, in a friendship way, there has to be reciprocity. There has to be work, and there
Hmm.
has to be time spent. So you waking up and having coffee, making sure that you're doing these things. Doesn't have to be the same thing necessarily, but make sure that you're committing to something, and that something
Yeah.
being the person on the other side. Not the
Right.
thing, not the money, not the work, none of those things. Commit to the person on the other side, the person that's
Right.
had your back, and the
Hmm.
person that you're committed to, especially when you think about parenting. Like, what stellar advice you gave. That's mind blowing, because I know how easy it can be to get caught up in your work, and then,
Hmm.
maybe you try to be authoritarian figures as opposed to parents in those styles and
Right.
those ways. So I think
And
that's
and
dope.
and it's and that's a struggle, you know, and it's a struggle. And there's gonna be a time. There's gonna be a balance. Like there'll be times where that balance is off. You know what I'm saying? Like especially in a high, like a high, I don't even know what the word to call it. Just like at a time right now where
Man,
I'm getting
life,
ready.
it's tough
Life,
out
yeah.
here.
But I mean, but like there's sometimes like I can remember like winter things slow down. So I spend a lot of time at home. I spend a lot of time with the kids. I spend a lot of time doing things. But right now, summer's about to kick off. I'm doing usually before now. I'm like preparing for tour. Dropping the album, shooting music videos, going out of town. doing podcasts or whatever. So like now it's a little different because I don't get to do all those things or have to leave. I still do them from home, but there's still like a division of work in home, even though it's in the home. So it's still hard. It's hard to balance, and I feel like the kids will kind of feel that. But then again, it's like, that's why, when I do give them time, I give it extra. You know what I'm saying? Like I give them a lot of love. I look them in their eyes. I get down to their level where they tell me they want to do this. Well, then that's what we're doing. And stuff like that. But there's a balance, and I think one thing I do want to say is just for anybody listening, like don't ever let whether you're balanced too much, whether you're unbalanced, don't let that be a reason to stop. And it's definitely not a reason to quit. Like you'll find the balance again, because that's like the journey of life, is finding the balances. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I love that. I love that. Because I think people have this idea of perfection, or that you will somehow grasp the perfect thing that's going to end all things. But in
Exactly.
reality, like suffering is going to continue, because there are factors of life that are just going to continue that you cannot control. So I really, really love that you put that there. And I love that you said, when I am in that moment with my person, be it my kids or my partner, I'm at their level. I'm engaged. What do you want to do? And how can we do this together? And how can we make that happen? Those are forms of collaboration and love that speak volumes. I think that's important when we discuss learning love languages and being able to love people at their capacity and in ways that they receive. That's open exchange, and that's important energy. So thank you for sharing that point. As we go into the music and the flow of your sound, how does it shift? How does it change? Where is it today? Because you do have new music out, and I like, I don't even want to listen. Just, you know what? I'm gonna let you, y'all. I'm gonna let you have it. I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you have it.
My bad. I'm sorry. I'm the type of person, like
I got hype. I had to take a sip.
I'm a listener. I'm a listener as well as I am a speaker. I feel, I love to listen. There's a lot of power in listening, but so yeah, definitely, my sound is progressed a lot. Like the content has progressed a lot, and according on who you ask, you know what I'm saying. So
fire.
What's that?
Fire. It is fire. Okay. Don't even try to like, look at him coming in here all modest. I'm gonna let you.
I mean,
it's fine.
My thing is just, again, like we're always growing. There's a balance you're always finding. So like at the time when I cut my last album, like I thought I was at my peak. I thought, well, this is it. This is gonna take me to the next level. This is who I am. This is what I'm committed to. And then life happens and reality strikes, and not that any of that wasn't reality, but change comes. If a tree wanted to stop growing, it's not going to stop growing. It's still going to grow. You know what I'm saying? So I have to get closer to the light. I gotta grow higher, and then I start seeing different perspectives as I grow. And so life changes again, and I cut this album, and I'm like, this is it. This is the one. And who knows what's to come of it. But again, giving 100% to it, doing what you're passionate about. Kind of like understanding the purpose. The purpose isn't to just drop this one album and have it sound a specific way and then continue to do it. The purpose is to drop it, teach, learn, and then continue. You know what I'm saying? So
teach, learn, and then continue. I love that, because it's to say that, one, you're picking up on game and feeding back, right? So picking up on game, giving it back, but then always being open to receiving more, because you realize it's an ongoing process.
Right.
So I think that ties into not only just how your music produces, because you recognize that sometimes the sound has to change. Sometimes the plan has to change. Sometimes the release isn't going to go the way you anticipated. It's not going to be perfect. Right. But being open to growth, it sounds to me, is like what allows you to keep going, and to do so forcefully. In a way that says, like, no, I'm really owning this space. Like, you don't even understand. I'm really tackling this thing, because I know that life is going to shift, but my fundamentals are not. So grounded in faith, grounded in family, grounded in music. And then before we get on to the business tip of it, talk to me a little bit about new music and what you have going and how this project came to be.
Okay. Yeah. So this project, it's called Disappear. And I just kind of had like a little thought right now, something that's helped me be that way, like not so tied down to one train of thought or way of being or believing, is, the way I grew up is moving a lot. So I never stayed in one place a long time. So that helps me now. Like understand that nothing is forever and nothing's really supposed to be forever. You know what I'm saying? So with this
Man, that's
album, that's
powerful.
right. So thank you. So with this album, Disappear, I feel like I was on the bottom side of that thought. So maybe to explain, like I was like, I don't want things to change no more. You know what I'm saying? Things need to stop changing because I just want to be where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? But this album Disappear was me accepting the fact that it wasn't going to change. So, but what I mean by that is I knew that I had to grow. I knew I had to change. I knew I had to shed my skin, and I had to disappear. You know what I'm saying? And what that felt like is, you know, like a breakup. When you break up with someone that you love, it hurts. It's pain. You know what I'm saying? It's something that you didn't expect. It's something that you don't want. So, you know, breaking up with my old self and getting into the new me was a depressive time. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to let it go. So I did a lot of things that were unhealthy, you know, partying, you know, neglecting family, neglecting love, neglecting things, and then honestly, not even just neglecting it, but just completely writing them off. Like I'm just not even going to believe in these things no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it came from a real state of depression, and a lot of it just if you really like you can listen to it and you'll hear some things it's like, dang, you were really going through it, and then you'll hear some things it's like, okay, well, you overcame it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. It's just shedding light on the truth of of the feelings and the emotions that you feel in those times. You know, I got a song called Control. You know, first line, like, control. If you could take it, take it. If you can't, just let it go. Emotions, they've been known to pull a ruler from his throne. Like, that says so much because, you know, our whole lives, we want to just control. You know what I'm saying? And then you sometimes we let the fact that we can't control it consume us, and then the only thing that's really bred from that is is negative emotion. You know what I'm saying? You yell, you get angry, you distance yourself, you start training yourself in your mind why not to fuck with your family no more, why not to fuck with these people no more. Like, you just kind of start making these truths in your mind, and in reality those aren't the truths. It's just you're being forced to change, being forced to grow. You just don't want to, you know. So, you know, again, like that emotion, if you don't control it, if you don't understand it, it could, if you purpose for something higher and you don't really get there, you can completely ruin your, or maybe not even, not, maybe not completely ruin it, but maybe the timing, or just set yourself back. You could just definitely do negative to your own purpose and calling. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what it's saying. Like, I mean, you just got to control that emotion, because you could be a ruler, you could be a king, and you can lose it all. You know what I'm saying? So that's where this album is really coming from, you know. And at the end of it all, like, there's definitely some songs that I put in there to show a lighter side of it, to remind you that it's not always that deep, to remind you to look at the lighter side of things, to go outside and have a cup of coffee, you know, do whatever else you do. If you meditate, whatever, you know, make sure you find time for those things, because again, that's the most important thing, is self, you know, care. You know what I'm saying? You got to take care of yourself.
Always. And I really, really love the picture you painted there and the journey you took us on. So thank you for sharing those things.
Hmm.
There was a lot of relatability there for me. I moved around a lot just based on my mother having MS and my father wasn't present. So
Hmm.
I knew my father later in life and we had a great relationship, but during my youth, he simply was not there. So I went
Right.
between like my grandmother and my aunt, and there is this immediate need to want to cling to something. So you
Yeah.
constantly maybe find yourself in and out of relationships or situationships or like
Hmm.
bars, clubs,
Oh
parties.
yeah.
Like you're trying to be the go-to person because like at least you're noticed and seen and felt, you feel wanted and you feel engaged and you feel like you have a place. And so then you realize, like, you don't want this place. This place is destructive. You're drinking a lot. You're partying a
Yeah.
lot. You're neglecting yourself. You haven't spoken to your family. You haven't lifted yourself up. You're not taking care of yourself. You don't even really know what day of the week it is sometimes. Like,
Oh
you're
yeah.
just out here living, you know?
Yeah.
And so and then you come to the moment where you do say, okay, I got to face this.
Hmm.
I'm about to do it. And you hype because you like something's going to change. But in the back of your mind, you're really, really scared because you
Yeah.
have no idea what's on this other side of this thing. And you're usually cutting the vices cold turkey, like
Yeah.
isolating yourself, trying to do whatever you need to do to get it together. And that place wrecks you. It
Hmm.
kills you because that part of you has to die. And that's
Yeah.
when you really embrace the change and you realize death is painful in every sense
Mm-hmm.
and capacity, but it is necessary for new life to occur, and it is necessary for the new you to occur in that sense.
Right.
So thank you so much really for sharing that and just creating that picture, and knowing that there are things that are going to hold you over, right? That's the essence of self-care, is while you are inevitably crafting the next version of yourself, there are things that still need to happen to ensure that the wreck doesn't have to be so detrimental, that maybe the change can be bearable, or navigated in a different way. And that really rests in self-care, doing whatever it takes to ensure your happiness. That doesn't have to be painted in a way that it's painted for everyone else. So I really,
Right.
really love that you led that there. And on our final note, kind of tell us what your business structures look like. You do have the Super 806 show, Super 806
Mm-hmm.
merch.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you, I really see everybody in those shirts that were like, y'all don't even understand. And it's great merch. So we're going to have some links up for that. I'm going to make sure you guys have access to that and all my listeners can get there. But tell us what your business structure looks like for you. And also, how do you tie business into your partnership? Or do you consider it easier to do both? Or like combine both rather?
Yeah. So you talking about like my relationship?
Yeah. So like the
Yeah.
mixture of, business and relationship.
Yeah. So again, that's a me thing, like I'm so grateful that she agrees to that, you know what I'm saying? Because she doesn't have to, and not everybody does, not every woman will, you know what I'm saying? So I'm grateful that she does, and like she's probably 90% of the success of all of this. I think about it and I want it, but I have my own complexes, my own situations that I deal with. She's came along and she's really helped me bring all this stuff to life and show me that the value in all of it. So, it's almost as this is what's meant to be this way. So it's not so much like, you know, how business and relationship tie in. It's almost, this is just how it is naturally. I don't see it any other way. Um, now of course that's conversation is to be had constantly, because it might not just be me that sees that or feels that way. And I have to be respectful of her perspective on that. In the moment that's no longer what she wants to do, or maybe that's not how she sees it playing out anymore, then we're gonna go back to the scales and weigh it all out and see what do we got to do to make it for everybody, what I'm saying, type of thing, like to where everybody's enjoying
Right.
what we're doing. But yeah, like the business structure, Super 806 is one like third of the business that I have. I have an audio and video company called Creative Digital. That's something that we do marketing on. We do security cameras, mounting TVs. We sell ADT security. We sell AT&T services, cell phones, internet, TV, just things like that. The reason why I really vibe with that is because it's very similar to music, in the sense that there's a lot of entertainment that goes around TV, internet, and then all the installation processes is very similar to like studio wiring, and it's just all kind of similar. You know what I'm saying? So um, that's one, and then there's of course the studio, which is Brown Bird Studios, that me and five of my best friends own. That's one big business venture that I'm a part of, and then there's the Super 806, which is our podcast. And initially it wasn't so much a business thing; it was more just something we wanted to do to give back to the community of music and entrepreneurship in our area, because there's really not a platform. But since we've been growing over the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, like it just kind of developed into something that's been kind of lucrative. You know what I'm saying? And it's definitely getting more lucrative. So yeah, we're putting a business structure around it. Um, and it's been a fun process. It's been, like you said earlier, like I was telling Kiana the other day, we were driving home from Sonic or something, and I was like, I feel kind of scared. I know that's weird to say, but like that's the only way I can explain my feeling, because I'm not afraid, and I'm really not
Yeah.
scared. It's just unknown. I don't know what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've planned out every step, and we're doing those, and I know what the next step is, but it's all been a dream, a vision, a goal. You don't know how
Right.
you don't know how like it's gonna turn out. You don't know if it's gonna be successful. You don't know if it's gonna be a huge failure. And neither one is gonna make or break or change me, but we just don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Right.
I,
It's
I
just everything is about taking a chance. Isn't that right?
Right. So, I feel like, I think it's for me, from my perspective, speaking for me, I love the fact that my relationship can have this like as something we do daily. Also, I think she knows well, like I'm the type of person, again, I moved around. I come from poverty. I come from nothing, like street type environment where to me, it's just garbage. Like it's nothing I would ever want anybody to experience. So that's why I'm so like hell bent on making this work, because I don't want to wake up every day and do business. It's a passion of mine, of course, and it's a necessity for sure. But I want to get to the point where we can get up and just 100% focus on family, learning, teaching, growing, planting, having a garden, building, just doing like stuff like that, and not worry about, having to go out here and make some sort of like mainstream or corporate, decisions all the time or whatever the heck, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the goal. The end goal is like, we got to go to this extreme to get to that extreme, you know what I'm saying? So, and I think she kind of understands that and respects that as well. So it's definitely not what we're going to do forever. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's so, so powerful. And I really love the way you put it into perspective. One, where you broke everything down. Because, baby, you got titles. And I
Yeah.
love it. I love everything that y'all are doing. But I also love that you're risky enough. I mean, I don't even want to say risky enough, that you're bold enough, that you're confident enough, that you're trusting in yourself enough. Like you said, it's not going to make me or break me either way, right? I know
Right.
who I am. I know who I serve. I know what I stand for.
Exactly.
But also that you said and put it to the point in respective of saying, like, this is natural. Like this came naturally. I think
Hmm.
sometimes people really get this idea that they want to be a power couple, that they want to be on this agenda so damn bad that they force ideas sometimes,
Yeah.
and that they
Yeah.
force situations, and you force a narrative versus allowing the natural to come to you. I'm finding the same thing in my relationship. We've been together
Mhm.
a while, and like we didn't know for a moment how we would mesh on a business level. We
Hmm.
thought about it, but we didn't force it. And as the ideas started to flow naturally, then it was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We were always very supportive of each other's individual ventures. But
Hmm.
if you always do want to find a way to come together, if you can.
Hmm.
So I think it is a really great point that you said there. It does have to happen naturally. And it is something to always come back to the drawing board for. Communication is key. It's constant.
Exactly.
It's necessary. It's so necessary. It's
Yeah.
so essential to keep you both on the same page. That we got a thunderstorm here, y'all, if you heard that. So I do want to thank you for sharing that. This has been a really, really dope ass experience. Y'all need to just plug into everything, Ezra Millz. I'm fascinated. I'm humbled.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Man, thank you so much.
I'm having a great
I'm
time
really, I
too.
don't even have words. This has been amazing. This has been so much fun. This has
You
been some
know,
of the dopest 30 minutes.
yeah, for sure. And Kiana was, I'm telling you, we've been hyping this up for so long. We both been excited to see what the outcome is. You know what I'm saying? So
She's so great.
yeah, she's awesome. And again, like, I appreciate her so much for, everything she's doing to build on this, So even something, you got to really believe in something if you're going to put your name on it. So for her to put her name on what
Man,
I'm doing, it shows a lot, what I'm saying? It speaks louder
I'm
than
telling
just
you.
a lot. So
I'm telling you, man, and disappear. Listen, plug in, do everything that
hmm
you have to do. I want you to engage with the Super 806 show. I want you to buy merchandise. If you need cable, internet, digital services, and you're in the Lubbock, Amarillo, Texas area, hit my man up. He's
yeah.
got you. And this has been another week of expecting better, doing better, and believing better. I am your host. It's Just Nakia. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at It's Just Nakia. But most importantly, we have personal pages dedicated to the show at the Expect Effect Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And Ezra, where can they find you?
Ezra Millz on Facebook, official Ezra Millz on Instagram, and Ezra 806 Millz on Twitter. So man, as long as y'all are getting with me, I'll get right back with y'all. Check out any music. I got a lot of videos on YouTube. You just look up Ezra Millz. That's EZRAMILLZ. Before I go, I gotta let you know the second part of my name, Millz. The reason why that's there, I told you that the name Ezra Mills had a purpose, is because I want to reach millions of people. Like, I feel just like you. I have a voice, maybe, you know, and I feel more confident than I ever have in my life now, right now, you know, to say these things out loud and to make them come to reality. So definitely want to start reaching millions of people. And you're a very big part of that. So I really appreciate you having me on your show.
Man, and affirmations are so, so huge. So thank you for coming on this show, because when you do reach those millions of people, I can say, listen, how long have I been telling y'all? We have over 40 episodes uploaded where I have said you have to speak and live what you speak. You have to speak it into existence. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So you believe it, so it will be. It's happening right before our eyes. Ezra, thank you so much for joining on. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another week, another round, your weekly dose of me time. I am so thrilled to have had you here. We are wrapping up season 1, but don't you fear, we have some amazing things coming. This has been one of 3 episodes. So we have 2 more episodes left and we're done. Man, it's been a wild ride. And Ezra, to have had you here on the very first season, I'm excited. I know I'm going to have you back. I'm going to stay in touch. I'm excited to work with you in the future. Thank you again for coming on. And thank you guys so much for listening. Remember, life is hard, but self-care doesn't have to be.